What's a deeply unsettling fact? Due to fresh drinking water being so scarce on the Galapagos Islands, some bird species, such as the vampire finch, have adapted by drinking the blood of other animals. Come on though. With a name like vampire finch, it was bound to happen sooner or later. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. And the last execution by guillotine in France was the same year Star Wars came out. Eventually, most of the content on the internet will have been created by dead people. Just like literature. Currently, there are estimated to be at least 25 active serial killers in the United States alone at any given time. Very few will be detected, much less apprehended. This gives me hope. Nothing in the Humpty Dumpty rhyme states that he's an egg. This is the most horrifying trivia on here. Each year you unknowingly pass your death day. An interesting would you rather question I came across recently. Would you rather know the exact date of your death, but not the year? Or know the year of your death, but not the exact date? The amount of deaths due to medical errors each year. Preventable medical errors. The US has lost several nuclear bombs. We know where they are. We just can't find them. Parts of your eyes are crunchy. They're the best parts. There is a rare genetic degenerative brain disorder called fatal familial insomnia. FFI starts as a mild inability to sleep followed by short bouts of intense nightmares/dreams and progressively deteriorates until the sufferer is completely unable to sleep at all, eventually impacting the human ability to microsleep as a last-ditch effort of self-preservation. There is no cure for FFI and eventually sufferers lose their minds and die of sleep deprivation. But it gets so much worse. Due to the degenerative nature of the condition, as it progresses you begin deteriorating mentally and physically. You lose the ability to regulate body temperature and may swing between freezing and sweating. You develop severe memory problems, confusion, agitation, weight loss, paranoia, hallucinations, speech problems, double vision, loss of motor controls similar to Parkinson's, inability to swallow, increased blood pressure and production of tears, as well as many other unpleasant symptoms. The combination of your mind going and your body shutting down eventually kills you. Now, it's called a genetic disorder because that's the most common way to contract it. But that isn't the only way. FFI is a prion disease, meaning if you accidentally come into contact with an infected prion, you can still end up with FFI. The most common way to come into contact with an infected prion is by consuming tainted meat, contact with improperly cleaned surgical equipment, and contact with infected dead bodies. But that's not all. FFI can also spontaneously appear in sufferers with no family history of it and no known contact with an infected mutated prion. How does this happen? What are prions? We all have prions. They are proteins in our brains that are needed for our brains to properly function. A prion is when a protein in the brain folds over abnormally due to a mutation. The bad protein triggers other proteins in the brain to also fold abnormally. The way these folds occur and where they occur determines which type of prion disease the now infected brain contracts. And it is highly contagious. Almost all prion diseases can be genetic, induced when exposed to mutated prions, or occur spontaneously. So far we don't know why they occur spontaneously or how to prevent them from doing so. Link on prions. Link on fatal familial insomnia. Fpeep. I was just about to sleep. I guess you'll be thinking about this for a few hours. National parks are not all swings and roundabouts. Over 1,600 people have gone inside Yellowstone National Park and never come out. Yellowstone is known for boiling water and pools of acid. People on this earth put Gorilla Glue in their hair. I don't have any questions about what happened. That you could have a blood clot in your arteries as we speak, just waiting to cause a stroke. And you might be asleep when it happens and never know a thing. Happened to me. The grandfather paradox. If you go back in time and convince your grandma not to marry your grandpa, then your father is never born and therefore you're never born. So who went back in time to convince your grandma not to marry your grandpa? You've peeped your grandma. Creating a different paradox. You're not looking up into the night sky but up into the infinite and cold abyss. Also, there's no such thing as up. Really. You're just looking out. No matter how unlikely it is for a bad thing to happen, there's always the chance it could be you. No matter what. Your mental illness is probably for life. But you may be able to manage it. Especially true for bipolar disorder. Schizophrenia. The guy who played Hannah Montaña's brother and John Cena of the same age. Absolutely baffled me when I found out. Joke's on you. I never watched wrestling or Hannah Montana. I have no frame of reference. There's a big chance that the clothes you are wearing right now were made by the hands of extremely underpaid people in terrible working conditions. Joke's on you. I'm naked. You are just a chemical process trying to reach an equilibrium. An electron looking for a place to rest. There is a very small chance that you are immortal. You just don't know it yet. I'm about to find out right now. There is a moment during the cremation process where parts of your body are a perfect medium rare. I prefer my human flesh well done. Thank you very much. For every homeless person in America, there are 34 vacant homes. For every homeless person in America, there are 34 vacant homes. Source: I work at a homeless shelter. So does this statistic include homeless that have some form of shelter as well? We all have 2 minutes to live. But the timer resets each time we inhale. Deep breath in. Then out. Several hundred times a day. A curse we all bear. There are about 150,000 ants for every one person in the world. SNACKTIME. That I'm going to have to work for the rest of my life for small wages and always be poor. Same. When you get cremated, your teeth peeping pop like popcorn. Ew. That we have a pocket of acid in our body. I buy a dose. How much? People all over the world are documented of being raped, tortured and killed while we are living like nothing is happening. I think about this a lot actually. Especially when I'm happy. Randomly. Like I feel guilty because I know someone is dying in a really terrible way right now. Like in my own city. 99% of all people who ever lived are now long forgotten. Where'd you get that figure? Aren't there estimated to be only 14 dead people for each living person? Your bones are wet. But not forever. That supervolcano keeps me awake at night. If it helps. The idea of Yellowstone or any other supervolcano being overdue is somewhat hyperbolic. It might on average go off roughly every X years. This is far from consistent. And geologists are fairly confident that if it does start to ramp up to an eruption, we'll have potentially years of warning. It's a guarantee that you are biologically related to every person you've ever peeped. You are literally biologically related to every single living thing on Earth. Peeping who you are very closely related to is incest. But peeping who you are very distantly related to is bestiality. You, along with everyone you know, will be forgotten. This is actually a really comforting fact for me sometimes. I have pretty bad social anxiety. And reminding myself that nobody cares about me, and even if I really embarrass myself, people probably won't remember an hour later because they have their own lives and even my peep-ups aren't special is really helpful. So knowing that my life, which sometimes feels like nothing more than one continuous embarrassing peep-up, will most likely be forgotten is kind of a relief. Honestly.